All right, you should be good to go.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners Workshop Meeting for January 13th, 2021. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner Lees.
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
I would like to ask our Township Planner, Ken Amy, if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be happy to. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag,
to the United States of
States
America,
of
United States of America,
to the republic
to the
Republic
republic,
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with
and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
For all. Thank you, Ken.
Welcome.
Before we begin, I just need to announce that the board met in executive session to discuss real estate. And the first item is we need a motion for approval of tonight's agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lees. All in favor of moving forward with the agenda before you say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Okay, folks, first thing, actually not on the agenda directly, but we do have a public statement from the Hatfield Commissioners that I want to read on behalf of the commissioners as a whole. In Hatfield Township, it's unusual for us to make a public comment on events or issues outside of our purview. The reason for that is because we make every effort to remain focused on our primary responsibilities as they relate to Hatfield residents. Those responsibilities generally include public safety, police and fire companies, fixing problem intersections like Cowpith and Orvilla, parks and recreation, our aquatic center, public services like plowing and potholes, and the general well-being of our residents. And yet, because of the rioting in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, a number of residents have reached out to us as commissioners and asked that we comment publicly. Attacking our Capitol building was a direct attack on our country and what we stand for. We condemn this behavior at any time, and the rioters should be immediately held accountable. We hope that every American sees rioting and violence for what it is, an attack on our very democracy. Now, as it relates to Hatfield Township, over the course of the last week, a number of us have received questions such as, is the township prepared in case something like this happens in Hatfield Township? That question appropriately goes directly to our charge as commissioners. The answer to that is yes. While it's impossible to anticipate every possibility, our police department, by way of example, our chief of police, Bill Tierney, who's with us right now, is the leading chief of the Montgomery County Incident Response Team, which includes being prepared for various types of scenarios. Many of our Hatfield officers are in leadership positions along with the county SWAT team, within the county SWAT team, and our department has prepared for and been involved in many large-scale events ranging from presidential visits to assisting Philadelphia with protests and riots. So our public safety officers have experience. Those of you who are familiar with the commissioners and the tone and tenor of the way we govern know that above all, your commissioners, we expect civility, dignity, and respect for one another. Quite frankly, we demand it of ourselves and we ask it of our residents. So while we hope that residents follow that lead and treat each other with respect, we are prepared in case a conflict does arise. Our country has a great deal of healing to do, and it starts with treating each other with respect. We're confident that as the greatest country in the world, we can achieve anything, and that respect is the respect that is so desperately needed now starts at the local level. So our best wishes for a peaceful and safe 2020. That's on behalf of the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners.
2021.
2021, sorry. Staring me right in the face. I guess old habits never die or die hard. And you'd think I'd be very pleased to move on from 2020 like we all would be. So let's move on with our agenda. Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments on tonight's agenda? Agenda items only.
So President Zipfel, since we're using this new format here, let's try to work our way through this. So all residents attending, if you would like to speak at this point, you can use the raise hand function and I will unmute you. If I see no hands raised, we'll continue with the meeting. All right, Mr. President, no hands raised as of this point.
Okay, we're going to move on to our consent items. Is there a motion to enter into the record the one consent item that's listed on your agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Andrus,
Second.
second by Vice President Rogers. For the consent item that's in the, that's going to be moved into the record is the police report for the month of December 2020. I got that date right anyway. And any questions or comments? With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of moving that into the record, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, that is approved. Committee reports. Planning and Zoning Committee, Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you. The first item is the Minerity Corporation North Broad Street Land Development discussion. Mr. Amy, do you have that?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Rogers. The Minerity Corporation is the owner of property at the, on North Broad Street. It is very near the intersection of North Broad Street and Bethlehem Pike. It's a property which is just a whisker over an acre in area, and it has been vacant for a number of years. It's just to orient everybody, it's directly adjacent to the Dairy Queen on North Broad Street. So it's almost out to Bethlehem Pike. The applicant came before the zoning hearing board. The property is zoned limited professional office. The applicant came before the zoning hearing board a little over a year ago, and they asked for permission to put commercial use on the property. The zoning hearing board wasn't comfortable with opening the door completely for commercial uses, so they granted approval for commercial use, with the exception of certain uses that were deemed to be less appropriate for the location, uses such as a vape shop or a check cashing agency. Those kinds of uses were not allowed by the zoning hearing board. They have since come in with a full land development application. They had a few issues with PennDOT, and that's the reason it's taken quite a while to work its way through the process. But at this point, they have a PennDOT permit. They have reviews at this point from CKS, from the fire marshal, from McCloskey and Faber, from McMahon Associates, and they are prepared to comply with all of the recommendations contained within those letters. The Planning Commission at its December meeting recommended approval of the application to the Board of Commissioners, and the Planning and Zoning Committee has also reviewed the application. David Caracauza, who has been handling this for the owners, as well as Jeremy Hoagland, who is the engineer for the project, are both here this evening. If the board has any questions, at this point, the project is ready for the board to take action at their next meeting. Ms. Pianzio would prepare a resolution, but certainly Mr. Caracauza and Mr. Hoagland are here for any questions you might have.
Hey, Ken,
Yes,
PennDOT got involved because Broad Street is maintained by PennDOT?
it's a PennDOT, that is a PennDOT highway.
Okay.
Yes,
And if, I assume it was how the entrance was configured.
that's exactly right. It was the location of the entrance.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, can you go back to the site picture? So either representative for the development can answer this. What if, as we're looking at that there, and I'm not sure which is north, south, east, west right now, but what's to the right of the property?
The Dairy Queen.
That's what I thought. What's to the left of the property?
It's a dentist office.
Got it. What is behind the property?
It's a duplex. It's a very long property. It sits directly behind the post office, and it's like a duplex and vacant land.
So there are no residential homes on the left, the right, or behind.
Only the duplex behind is a residential use, but no residential single-family detached homes.
So the residential use is in that long piece of property that we're looking at, where at the very end there's a, yep, I see it. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Aaron, can you go back to the earlier? Yep. So Commissioner Andrus just mentioned the entry. Can you just walk us through the
Sure.
that entryway and what adjustments have been made to ensure for safety purposes and access purposes that it's been proposed the way that it is?
Okay, so originally when we had the entrance almost more to the right towards Dairy Queen. When we submitted the plan to PennDOT, because we had to get a permit for that actual driveway cut out onto North Broad Street, they asked us to adjust it as far possible towards the dentist office next door, which would basically be to the south side of the property, if you will. So that access right now has been reviewed by PennDOT, our traffic engineer, and the township's traffic engineer, and everybody's aligned with that. It's in the appropriate location to service the property. And we've actually, as Ken mentioned, we do have the PennDOT permit at this point to allow that access where it's located. So the curb radiuses and all the turning and all that stuff has been reviewed and approved at this point. Did I answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you. Just to give you a quick snapshot, the building footprint itself is rated a little over 5,000 square feet, but it's only about 4,200 square feet of actual usable space. The additional square footage is backroom support, storage, restrooms if necessary, and of course. And there's 42 parking spaces to support the building, which is in accordance with the zoning requirements. As far as front yard, side yard, rear yard, impervious coverage, building coverage, and so forth, we either meet or exceed all the zoning criteria. So I know I'm representing the applicant, but overall, it's a pretty clean plan, quite frankly.
I just have one question. When I see this says proposed commercial building, sales, rental,
Retail.
Is
Yes.
anyone expecting to get a tractor trailer in there?
No, no.
So is that a restriction or impossible, or if they wanted to, they could try?
Jeremy, I'll have our engineer address that because I think he's better suited. Jeremy, if you would.
Yeah, that's no problem. Hi, my name is Jeremy Hoagland from the Crossroads Group. We're the civil engineering surveyor for this project. So what we didn't look at it for a tractor trailer. That wasn't a requirement by PennDOT. What we did do is make sure we worked with the fire marshal to make sure that we could get your ladder truck into and out of the site to the furthest corner, which is I'm going to say it's the northeast corner.
Yeah.
So we did analyze it that way, from North Broad all the way through the interior of the site into that location. And that's what was requested. That's what we wanted to make sure that we could accomplish, and we were able to do that.
Well, my question more is, to support that business, is it expected tractor trailers will be delivering stuff, or is it going to be like a small box truck?
Yeah, and that's a good question. What's truly anticipated here is this isn't expected to be a single user building. It's expected to be maybe as many as 4 different users. So the footprint for each use is going to be much smaller, and you're correct. Those type of uses we anticipated to be more of a UPS or a box truck, as you mentioned, not
Okay.
tractor trailer traffic.
If someone were to want to rent it and bring a tractor trailer, is there something prohibition? I can't see how that's unsafe with a tractor trailer. Is the stipulation saying no tractor trailer deliveries in this thing, or what are we doing to protect against that from potentially occurring, or we can't?
I think I can jump in on that one, Commissioner Andrus. Any tenant that comes into that building would have to submit fit out plans for their use and would have to describe their use to us. And if the use involved delivery by tractor trailers, they would either need to have the owner completely redesign the site, or they would need to find a new location.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Ken.
You're welcome.
Okay,
So if there's nothing further, our office can draft the resolution for your consideration next meeting.
yep, I was gonna say, unless one of the commissioners tells me otherwise, I think we have a consensus to move this item to our next week's agenda or next meeting's agenda.
I am good with that, yes.
Yep, same here.
Same here.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Okay, that's
Bob,
it.
anything?
That's it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time this evening.
Nice to
Thank
see you,
you.
Dave and Jeremiah.
Thank
Good
you,
to see
guys.
but
Good
Good
to
to
see
see
you all.
everyone
Night,
too.
Take care.
Have a good night.
You too.
Commissioner-
Bye-bye.
Commissioners, I think Dave gets extra credit there for having the township building behind him. It is
Very wise. Good thinking.
not a dumb guy.
You should have pointed that out before you started, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, the place did look familiar. That's all we have for tonight.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bob. Public Works Committee, Commissioner Lees.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's not much to say 13 days into the year, but the Public Works Committee will be meeting in February to discuss the road paving projects for 2021. This year we budgeted to pave the school road parking lot and school road park parking lot and trails. And we're going to finalize the additional roads and go to bid in the early spring. That's all I have, sir.
All right. We're going to move on to Parks and Recreation Committee, Commissioner Andrews. Oh, actually, that should be Commissioner Zimmerman.
Okay, as usual, lots of things planned for the winter. We've got a winter activities challenge, and you can complete different activities from 5 categories and collect points for each activity that you complete and take photos along the way to document your completion. If you've collected a total of 250 points, submit your checklist and photos to Hatfield Township Parks and Rec and receive a $25 household credit to be used for any future registration. And you can check out the information and the rules at the website. Some exercise activities, recreational, would be virtual yoga is going to be on Thursdays, virtual Zumba on Sundays, and virtual Tai Chi on Wednesdays. And some of them have already started. So check out the website for that and the registration fee. Storytime series also continuing this month. The featured book is There Was a Cold Lady Who Swallowed Some Snow. Again, registration fees $5, includes the storybook and crafts. Children can read the stories and complete the Explore kit individually, or you can do it as a family. So again, pick up your activity kits and your books between the 14th and the 29th of January and email pictures and completed crafts to storybook@hatfield.org by February 1st. Trivia night, all of you good trivia buffs out there, tomorrow. So get out there and register quickly. It's tomorrow night between 7 and 8, and it will be virtual. So register your team and you can participate either via Zoom or Kahoot, and you can win a prize. So that's it for this month. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Zimmerman. That's quite a bit in the dead of winter during a pandemic. Still
Yeah.
the things going on. That's good. All right, public safety. We have 2 items. First is a parking restriction discussion with regard to Richmond Road. Aaron, do you have this one?
I'll take this one, Mr. President, if you don't mind.
Yep.
We do have both items I'd be happy to take tonight.
Okay.
So the first one is a proposal from the Hatfield Police Department based on some observations in the field. And I have a slide to share so we can all get on the page as far as where this is. So we're talking about Richmond Road off of Unionville. If you can see clearly here. Everybody can see that. So this stretch from Berge Road to Unionville along Richmond, the police have, as we all know, the police have an office there in the corner in our public works garage. So they obviously are over in that area often, but they've noticed a lot of large trucks and other vehicles parking along Richmond, and it's become what they consider a safety concern when other vehicles are trying to get around them and not being able to see oncoming traffic. And then also too, just in addition to what they're observing now is that, eventually as the, and it's not in my update tonight, but the connector road, which I know many people think will never come, but it is going to bid in the next few months. And this corridor is going to become a little more common for trucks when they want to go northbound on 309, because they're going to get let off where the township line will connect to Hatfield, Souderton, Pike. So in order to go north on 309, they're going to have to maneuver their way down there. And not that this is the reason for that, but it's a future, something to be considered. But for short-term, commissioners, the police department just think it's in the public safety's best interest to consider restricting parking. And for those of you who travel this area often, there's not much need to park on the street there. For whatever reason the police are seeing it, it's not because they need to. It's because they're parking there and leaving vehicles, or they're parking there and just taking a rest there for whatever reason, these trucks, and it's becoming an issue. So the board would consider, similar to what we did process wise with the two no parking areas we designated last few months ago. It's an amendment to our ordinance, which would restrict the parking in this section. And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the police are recommending both sides be restricted along this corridor.
Correct. People do park on both sides, and it is a relatively narrow road, so it's not like the problem exists on just one side.
Hey,
So Aaron, could you verbalize again on Richmond between Bergie and Unionville on both sides? And what's the other one?
That's all. That's what's being proposed this evening for the board to consider.
Okay.
I'm on board with it, but my question would be, what's the likelihood we push these tractor trailers to park elsewhere?
Good question.
Are
And
they there for the Country Fresh thing, or are they just there?
Yeah, Bob, I think from what I hear, a lot of it is related to the Country Fresh. And I think the police have talked to them about how they do their business and how they need to come up with a way to make sure the trucks have space to pull into, because when they do park outside of Country Fresh, it becomes an issue. And especially when people are backing up at the stop sign at Richmond and Unionville. Chief, you have further observations based on your team?
Yeah, for what they see from in the office and us just driving back and forth down the road. This is actually something we have noticed over the last couple of years. This isn't something that has crept up. So as Penn Color had improved their property, they put some boulders and all along. I'm sure you've seen them out there, and the trucks have pushed them out of the way too, as they try to give themselves a wider area to park. So really, the problem exists from just below Emirates out to Richmond Road, but it's kind of like squeezing a balloon. If we only make it at the lower end, then they'll park in the upper end. So I just think it's best to take the whole thing. Commissioner Anders' question, they're certainly going to park somewhere else, but we recommend that they park over in Walmart's parking lot or something where they know when they're free, somebody can radio to them and say it's time to come in, but they just stack up out there because their delivery schedule or whatever, they draw in too many people at one time. We've spoken to the management over Country Fresh and had little to no help with this.
So let me ask the question. So no parking. If the guy happens to be stopped on the road in his cab, is that considered parking?
Yes.
Okay, so you won't get in this conversation of, hey, I'm in my car and I don't wait and make a turn. It's you're stopped and that's considered parking.
Well, we could certainly make the wording on the sign, no parking, standing, or stopping.
Okay.
If we wanted to be more clear about it, sure.
Do you think we need to be?
I probably would be. I think that's probably
Okay.
a good recommendation on your part.
All right.
So Chief, do you think they're going to move out to Unionville Pike because it's a little wide there?
There's really, if they did that, like if they were to try to park in front of the Public Works building, that would create a sightline problem. So then there'd be something where we'd be telling them to move immediately. I don't think that's going to happen, Commissioner, but certainly anything's possible. But I think we can only deal with them, one problem at a time.
At a time. Yep.
Okay. I'm good.
I
Take
agree.
care.
Is this something we move to the next agenda? Is that the plan?
Yes, I believe there's time for it to be advertised. Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could advertise it for next Wednesday, which would give us a week.
Yeah.
I'll defer to
We
the
need one.
solicitor.
I can make it happen by our next meeting, if that's your question, yeah.
There you go.
Great.
All right, thanks, commissioners. Next item is the civil service commencing the process to begin hiring for new officers. we've been through this several times, commissioners. As you know, the process begins with the elected officials telling the appointed officials, which are the Civil Service Commission, to let's get moving on this. As a reminder too, commissioners, what the police department, Chief Tierney is requesting at this point is to prepare a list to hire 2 officers, which one will be to replace an officer that resigned within his first year of duty. And then the second will be to replace a retired, an officer that will be retiring in the upcoming, this year, 2021. I'm losing track of the years too. So there's not an increase in officers being proposed. This is simply replacing ones that have left and ones that will retire. So it's just getting the civil service to get moving.
Very good.
Yep. To me, that is clearly a no-brainer and something that we planned well in advance and we knew was coming. So do we need a motion, or is that just something that we move ahead with?
If you wouldn't mind, if we could have a motion just for the record purposes, please.
Okay. All right. So is there a motion for approval of to commence the hiring process for the Civil Service Commission for 2 officers as described by the township manager?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lees, second by Vice President Rogers. Any questions or concerns? Comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. All right, Aaron, is there anything else? I don't have anything else under public safety. Do you?
That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the Finance Committee. Commissioner Andrus.
I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Okay. We are going to jump right into the Township Manager's Report. Aaron, it looks like you have 3 items. If you can jump right in.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. President. First one is a housekeeping item that we've done this periodically regarding any time a traffic signal has to be modified, a new resolution has to be passed and submitted along with the permit to PennDOT. This is for 2 intersections. I'll share the screen just so everyone is familiar with the intersections, but I'm sure everyone is even without the shared screen, but the less you see my face, probably the better for everyone. The first one is Treewoodtown and Bethlehem Pike. The reason for this modification, and a lot of these are just housekeeping in nature, but the reason for this one was we had a truck that ran over the traffic signal last year.
No.
Had to be replaced, new mast arm installed, and the location of the signal had to be adjusted to hopefully prevent that from happening. It was actually a pretty large expense, all covered through insurance, but certainly not something. And then subrogated as well through the company involved. But that's the reason for this. No timing changes. It's just simply a change in location, nothing major of the exact signal. Second signal that's being modified is at Clemens Road and 40-foot road to accommodate the future land development that was approved last year, sorry. Ken, that was approved, right? It's working its way through the process, right?
Yeah,
We're all
it was approved.
Okay, we're familiar with that project. So this is to accommodate a new timing sequence for when those vehicles start using the intersection, which obviously isn't anytime soon, but it needs to be submitted and approved to PennDOT. So that's what the second resolution is for. Neither need to be considered tonight, commissioners. This is just a discussion. In 2 weeks, we'll have both resolutions on the agenda to approve. Then we're also I'm going to talk to our traffic consultant about having the commissioners approve a resolution that would give myself authority moving forward to sign these to keep the process moving, unless it was something major being changed or some significant timing. A lot of it is very minor, and I don't think it needs to be done and your time wasted. But for now, we will continue on and do what PennDOT's asking us to do. Okay, so moving on to more exciting news, Commissioner, on our agenda, we have in the manager's reports a property on Vine Street that I will show here. And for those residents that are following along near the Aquatic Center, this will give you a better sense on the property. And everybody can see that, commissioners? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So the family of this property reached out to us to see if the township was interested in acquiring. Many of you might be familiar with this property. There's a significant amount of vehicles outside the property. And we've discussed in an executive session, and there's been an interest to acquire. And on the agenda is an agreement of sale to be considered. And if that we believe that negotiation will be successful, but if not, on the agenda as well is a condemnation for the property. Similar process that we did with several other properties. There's some advantages to this, and we consider this a friendly scenario, which we'll be working with the family on coming up with a price that's reasonable and fair. But we feel like this is a smart acquisition. And the commissioners thought strategically, and that this will obviously increase the buffering at our park. All the property behind it's owned by the township. Will give us maybe some opportunities in the future to expand certain uses. Certain recreation uses, and it just makes sense for the township to pursue acquiring this property for what we would probably consider now just open space and preservation.
An important piece of our puzzle there for sure. So in the agenda, that was a resolution. Now's the appropriate time to take a motion. So is there a motion for approval of resolution 21-01 with regard to the condemnation of 2320 East Vine?
Oh,
Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vice President Rogers,
Second.
second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Discussion. If I'll start off real quick, I mentioned it already. This is a really nice, really great opportunity to add a piece of our puzzle that goes right up to our park facility, or I'm sorry, our aquatic facility. And as our township manager mentioned, it gives us some opportunities to not only expand up, to consider additional opportunities. And if nothing else, it opens up an open space opportunity that if we don't pick it up could be gone for permanently. So I'm in support of it for sure. Any other questions or comments? No? All right, hearing none, then I will call the question. All in favor of resolution 21-01, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. And last on our agenda is, Aaron, if you want to walk us through this, and then I'll take the motion. It's the agreement of sale, although I guess that's the housekeeping item associated with the actual acquisition.
Yeah, this gives us the ability, commissioners, to negotiate a sale price, and obviously the condemnation there is there if needed as well.
All right, with that, Chair will make a motion for approval of the agreement of sale for 2320 East Vine Street. Is there a second?
second.
Second by Vice
Can
President.
Mr. President, can you also add authorization for the township manager to execute that agreement and any documents in furtherance of a closing?
We sure can. So let me change the motion. So what's pending is the chair made a motion for approval of the agreement of sale for 2320 East Vine Street, and also allowing our solicitor to execute documents necessary in order to, you do it for me now.
Okay. A motion to authorize entering into an agreement of sale for the property and authorizing the township manager to execute not only the agreement of sale, but all documentation necessary to effectuate the closing.
Thank you. I said the solicitor, I meant the township manager. So, all right, so that's the pending motion by the chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Andrews. All right, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. All right, Aaron, anything else under Township Manager's report?
That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, Solicitor's report. Kristen.
I do have something. Yes. Thank you. As you know, periodically I come to you with proposed settlement agreements for assessment appeals. They come at odd times in between meetings, and sometimes I spring them on you like I'm going to tonight. The school district has forwarded me a proposed settlement for the Wawa on Bethlehem Pike. The address is 2480 Bethlehem Pike, and this actually effectuates an increase in their assessment, so it's a win for us. They have adjudicated 2015 through 2021 assessment values, increasing it in every case, which equates to a check for the township in the amount of $29,518.81. So it's my recommendation that you authorize me to execute this settlement agreement on behalf of the township.
All right, so I'll make a motion, or is there a motion to do just as our solicitor described, which is to accept that settlement agreement and give the solicitor the authorization to execute such an agreement?
So moved.
Yep, so moved.
Commissioner Andrus, second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that's approved. And that's always good news.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Yes,
news.
thank you.
That's great. All right, anything else under solicitor's report?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, last item, citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments?
1 second, Commissioner. Let me make sure I can figure this out. So if anybody wants to speak, if you could use your hand raising mechanism there. I don't see any hands raised, but I am going to allow everybody to talk if they wanted to. Okay, Commissioner.
Hi, everyone. Whoops.
No, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's Tina.
Hey, Tina.
Tina.
Hi. We just wanted to wish everybody a happy new year. And although it got off to a pretty horrid, rocky start, we appreciate the fact that a statement was made reiterating how the commissioners, the township, and our wonderful police department are always making sure that the residents of Hatfield Township are kept safe. And there's always a plan in progress and process to continue to keep us safe no matter what happens and whatever situation. So it's good to see all of you. Stay safe. And as you had said, Tom, let's all respect each other.
Very well said, Tina. Very well said.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. Well, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees, second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Any questions or comments? If
Happy
not-
New Year, everyone.
Yep. Happy New
Happy
Year,
New Year,
everyone.
yeah.
Thank you.
I will call the question. All in favor of adjournment for tonight's meeting, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Thanks for coming out.
Thank
See
you.
you. Have a good week.
Good night.